entering into a new time. A time when the very systems of control and commerce that we had believed to be the status quo were somehow no longer relevant.
You are listening
What
to
if we were
Urban
faced with a
Alchemy
new medium,
360.
a new network, a new system that connected the people and places of the world in a new way?
Urban Alchemy 360.
What if that system is here?
Go ahead and shout out something you want to invite ease and joy into. Friendships.
Your kids. Invite ease and joy into your kids. Invite ease and joy into paying your bills. I heard that one. Your health. I invite ease and joy into your health too. My health too. Let's get it. I invite.
Part two of the summit are Goldman Sachs, 1,000 Small Businesses, MCCSN, run by Claire Carter, Urban Alchemy, the Diamond Bid, San Diego Workforce Partnership, and 8560, who is our technology partner. Now, what I would like to do is actually do a little housekeeping before we get into our discussion. So our agenda for today, or the actual discussion, would be on the topic of social capital and culture. And one of the things, the Q&A will be for both me and Michelle. We will have a break time, but what we want to ask you to do is keep your cameras off and sound muted during the discussion. Please feel free to use the chat room. Will be to tell us where you're from, what your business is, and include the website links or your social media handles for the audience or network, and we'll be keeping track of that. Submit any of your questions through the Q&A and in the Zoom window. And for Q&A with the panelists, please specify who your question is actually for. We're going to have an entrepreneur. The discussion will be a panel discussion, and we'll also have Q&A for the panelists, and then we're going to wrap up. Unfortunately, well, before we get to that, what I'd like to do is actually introduce Christina, just to discuss the survey that we have for everyone to take. So Christina, if you want to say a few words.
Hi everyone, my name is Christina Steiner. I'm really happy to be here. I have been leading the research and evaluation effort for the Sister Cities Project. I have a long history of working on women's issues. I come from a family of strong women who fight for other women. I went to a women's college. I later taught at a college in China, a women's college in China. I've worked on women in combat, actually, and as part of my career, I actually also attended business school, and at the time I was, the business school was 16% women. So this is really important work that we're doing, and my job and my belief is that data is important, and what's behind the data is your voice. And so last time we sent out a survey, but we didn't really talk about it ahead of time, and we got about a 30% response rate, which is okay, but we're hoping to do a lot better. And if you're on this call and if you're listening to me now, we really hope that you'll click on the link and you'll take the 3 or 4 minutes to provide us your feedback. It's not like, you know, a survey after you go to a Target or a big box retailer. We really are paying attention to what you say, and we want to innovate, make improvements to our programs and the offerings that we have based on what you need and what your perspective is and how this experience has been for you. So that's all I'm here to say, is it should be really quick. We really are listening, and we appreciate the time that you take after the event to reflect on what you've learned. And with that, I'll turn it back to Sean. Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. And so unfortunately, our co-moderator, Clara Carter, who is so important to Sister Cities Project, she's part of the family, couldn't be with us today. She's feeling under the weather. So we just want to thank her and hope that she gets well soon. What I'd like to do now is actually introduce the other half of that co-moderation and introduce Michelle Harris-Price and ask her to say a few words about herself.
Hey, Sean. Well, thank you. Thank you about that. So yeah, shout out to Clara. Shout out to Clara. And Christina, thank you for that. That was it's really important. Surveys give us information that we can use to help you. So I arrived in San Diego from Alaska. My father was in the military. My mom was from Charleston, South Carolina. She was a spoken word artist who was very outspoken in the community. She was a community activist, was really instrumental in helping develop Southeast Little Theater back in the 60s. And my parents were one of the first Black families to be able to buy a house in Valencia Park. And so for those of you who may not know or may not know the history, the area of Southeastern San Diego was what was considered kind of the Rancho Bernardo of its day. Okay, so it was the suburbs. And that's why it's neighborhoods with houses, because that's exactly, it was considered the suburbs. So I grew up, I went to local schools. So I went to O'Farrell Junior High School. I went to Morris. I went to Patrick Henry. I graduated and started working immediately at UCSD Healthcare, where I worked for 19 years as a trainer and a quality analyst. And then I jumped ship and went to Qualcomm. And after that, I used the knowledge and expertise that I gained in corporate America and launched my business with it. And it was quite an interesting journey. 16 years later, I've taken care of both my parents who have now passed. I'm living in their house. I live in Emerald Hills. And I looked around, and I'm starting over now. And I looked around and said, the state of business here is not good. It's like economic malpractice or something. Like, I don't know what happened. It just looks like nothing's happened in 40 years, is what it looks like. And so I started volunteering for the Diamond BID, the Diamond Business Association. And Sean sent an email, and I responded, and now I'm here. So that's pretty much it.
Mhm. And we're so thankful to have Michelle on the team. Michelle is a wealth of knowledge, and so she's helped tremendously. Thanks, Michelle.
Hmm.
So our topic today, as we said at the beginning, is social capital and Black culture. And so the first thing I would like to do is define social capital and then define culture as it relates to our topic. So social capital is the networks and relationships entrepreneurs have available to them, which allow them to access resources, information, and support they otherwise would not have been able to access. That's social capital. As far as culture in this topic, the culture is social expectations, supports, encouragement, a sense of belonging, and celebration of entrepreneurial action. So those are the definitions of social capital and culture. And so what I would like to actually do, ask Michelle a few questions about that. And my first question to Michelle is what social capital means to you.
Well, what it means to me, I like to unpack phrases. When somebody gives me a phrase, I like to define it. So we did define social capital and culture. And, for me, what is capital? If you guys want to type a response in the chat box, if you want, what's capital? Capital's currency. Most people will immediately think about money, right? But there's alternative types of currency that are just as good or better than money. Ideas are currency if you actually use them or you trade them with other people in exchange for money. So, you think about that. And what is social? Social means what? We know people who are antisocial, right? The word, we all know those people. We probably got some in your family. So, the word social actually comes from a Latin word, socius, meaning friend. So connecting with other people, living in communities, humans are social. When you're being social, everybody's your friend. So your social capital for me is literally your connections, your people currency, the value that you can find in the people connections and who and what they know in your existing social network. That's what it means to me.
Okay. Yeah, and so I guess the next question, Michelle, since we're, me and you are discussing this together, but so how would you say it works? Can you give some examples or
Oh, absolutely. I
yeah.
thought of a really good one. So I'm sure there's some people here on the call that can relate. So you need to get to a networking function that you hadn't even known about until today because you want to meet the speaker. You want to meet the speaker because they're the CEO of a company you've been trying to get business from forever, right? So, but you can't leave your 3-year-old at home by herself. So what do? You pick up the phone and you call whoever it is in your circle of influence that is going to say, "Yeah, go ahead, bring her." Okay? And you're not, that's because your connection to that person is strong. That's your connection. You're not going to take her to the person. You're not going to call the person that we all have these people. You're not going to call the person that's going to ask 50 questions and then ask you when you're going to come pick her up. Okay? That's not the one that you're going to call. So, we all got friends and relatives like that. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to call your friend who's been in business for about 10 years and she knows everybody. And you're going to ask her if she knows that networking host who's throwing this networking account, function. And she says, "Yes, I know that person really well. What do you need?" And you tell her, "Hey, I need an introduction to the speaker." So she says, "Hey, you know what? Okay, let me shoot her a text right now. Tell her you're coming and I'll let her know who you are, and she can make sure you personally get connected to that speaker at that network." So that's literally social capital in action.
You know that, Michelle, that's interesting, and it's funny because as I've gone in this journey, and I think this is very, very important to say, just piggybacking off of what you're talking about, Michelle, is that when starting Sister Cities, I think it was very, very important. I think one of the things as Black people, what I've found out, and sometimes it's not always the case, but I think our networks are different. From other ethnicities, especially if we're talking about little like white and Black people. I think one of the things that it's been very interesting to me is that's what Sister Cities is really about. I think Sister Cities is trying to create this network or this ecosystem where we can expand those networks and create more social capital for the entrepreneurs that we work with. You know, I have a very good friend that I talk to who is white all the time. We have a weekly or every bi-weekly meeting. He knows who he is, but we talk. And you know, we always talk because it's very funny because he's able to connect me to a lot of people that I would never have the opportunity to be connected to because I just don't know those people. So I think it's very important. Social capital is very, very important. I know a lot of people talk about financial capital, right? But I think social capital is just as important or even more important, especially when you're bootstrapping, you're starting a small business. So that's what we hope to do with Sister Cities Project is if you don't have that network, what we're really trying to do is expand that network for you because we think that's extremely important. So
we got the connections for you. We got connections.
So one last question on that, Michelle, and we can kind of go back and forth on this, but tell us a little bit more about how social capital has worked for you.
Okay. So Michelle's gonna laugh at this one. We have this, we both use this phrase, I know a lady who. Okay, like I know a lady who, or does anybody know a good X? How it's worked for me is it literally got me my first paying client as an entrepreneur. Literally. From somebody that I didn't even know that I was gonna meet. And I showed up at a networking function for homeless teens who they were taking Christmas shopping. They were giving everybody $100 to take these teens and take them to Target in Mission Valley and take them shopping. And then after that, we all went across the street to on the border. So these were all venture capitalists. They were different, a lot of women. This was in the early 2000s here in San Diego. And so we were all sitting around the table. We're kind of having a good time. And I heard somebody say, well, he's like Tony Robbins, but better looking. And he's looking for somebody to work with him to help him promote his book, market his book. And he wants to create a seminar. And I kind of said, excuse me, to the person I was talking to. And I just said, I'd be interested in that. And she said, well, he's only paying like $25 an hour. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not making that now. So, she said, okay. And, tell me a little bit about yourself. And as crazy as this seems, this is just how crazy it is. This woman knew my name and she said she had a check for me because I had sold something off of a website in San Diego locally for her. And it was in the early 2000s. And I hadn't even given the lady I had signed up for her affiliate program. And she gave me, I sold something for her and she had a check for $80 for me. So I think what happened was she felt confident that she could put me in front of her client. And so she said, send me your resume. I sent her my resume. She called me the next day. Hey, he wants to meet you. I said, cool, I want to meet him too, right? So I'm driving. I'll never forget this. Even though I'm from here, I'm from San Diego. We all live south of the 8, and then there's north of the 8. I worked north of the 8, right? And I was going to Sorrento Valley every day, and I hated it, right? I just wanted to work from home with my laptop and my mouse, and I just did not want to do that anymore. I had to go to Rancho Santa Fe, and I had never been there. I didn't even know where it was. So he lived in Rancho Santa Fe. And I was in Sorrento Valley, and she said he wants to meet you today. And so I decided, okay, well, I'm going, right? Here I come. And I never forget this. I'm driving, and it felt like I was going like in the just all like into the somewhere I'd never, like the woods or something. I'd never been there and I didn't know where I was going, but I just followed the directions and hoped that his house would be at the end of it. And literally that's what I did. He hired me that day, and that was 17 years ago. And I never looked back. I just kept going. I just kept going. But that initial introduction, now I was ready, okay, because they say luck is where opportunity meets preparedness.
Hmm.
I was ready. I had done a lot of internet research, trying to figure out how people were making money online. I figured it out, and I could talk enough. I'd never promoted a book online. I didn't know nothing about that, but I knew that I had bought enough information that I should be able to sell it. So literally, that's how I did it. So that's my social capital story.
Awesome. Well, here's a good question. I know you'll like this one. And I know a lot of people will like this question and want to answer this one. But so before we get into obviously the panelists, we're coming up to that, but how has our culture helped or hurt in your journey to entrepreneurship?
Wow, that's a loaded question. That's a loaded question.
Yes, I know.
It's helped and hurt. So it's done both. So, there's a school of thought that says that your network is your net worth. And you mentioned this earlier when you were saying that we don't have the same networks, so we don't have the same net worth. I've also heard it said that your net worth is going to be pretty close to the top, what, 5 people that you hang
Yep,
with?
I've heard that.
Have you heard that too, in
Mhm.
proportion? And if that's even close to being true, then we got a lot of up leveling to do, right? Like we haven't had, but a lot of us, especially Black women, Black men included, we haven't always had our talent nurtured or even acknowledged in some cases by our friends and family. So, one of the things I would say how it's helped is that Black people are very creative. We're gonna figure out a way. We're gonna make a way out of no way. Okay, that literally we're gonna figure it out. Okay, we're gonna figure that out. We have a lot of faith. We're loyal. We're very loyal. If we like you, we'll go to the ends of the earth for you. Okay, so that's how it's helped, because I've had people who supported me and supported my dream, my vision. And on the other hand, we have there are those naysayers. We've got a lot of belief systems that don't necessarily serve us
Mm.
as Black people. And one of the things is, so, you got those family and friends who might see you struggling, or, you might, as an entrepreneur, that's the thing. If you don't go out, hunt it down, kill it, bring it home, skin it, cut it up, put it in the freezer or whatever, you're not eating, right? You don't get to eat. So for the people that got the government jobs, get the government checks, or you know what I'm saying, it looks crazy what we do.
Mm.
And they're the first people that's gonna say, well, when you gonna get a real job? I mean, I'm sure there's people around here that they've said that to you, right? Yeah. When you
Of
gonna get
course.
a real job? And then in the same breath, they'll turn around and ask you, well, hey, but can you come take me to the store? Or can you come watch my kid? Or can you take me to the doctor? Like, which one is it? Right? Are you gonna help? Do you want do I need to go get a job, or do I need to go take you somewhere? Right? So the other piece I would say is that some of the beliefs that don't serve us is we're very much a relationship oriented people, but we like who we already know. We don't necessarily like to expand our expand our horizons into networks of people that we don't necessarily know. And so that's going to be, that's a hindrance. And then we have some beliefs about white people, about other races that don't serve us. Okay, so maybe that person wants to meet with you, and what's the first thing we're gonna say? I don't know her like that. Right? Like literally. I mean, seriously. So, we just got to we need to be willing to open up, and, you never know. You are one connection away from getting everything you want as an entrepreneur, just one. And you never know who that one's going to be.
Mhm.
So that's all I got. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
So unless you have any more questions, anybody have any more questions? I mean, if you guys
I
have
have.
questions, put them in. I know that Leslie.
Do you want me to start shooting questions, sending questions to you?
Look, let me introduce Leslie.
Okay.
Leslie, Leslie is our I don't even know what to call Leslie. The brand, she's the CEO of Brand Central Solutions, and they do business growth, impact, and volunteering. But she has been like a sister, really. She has saved me and Clara. I mean, she writes. I don't know what it is. I don't know anything she doesn't do. So these questions are gonna come from Les. And go ahead, Leslie, take it away.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. That's an honor. Okay, so while you were both talking, I'll just give you, I always love to kind of look at the comments and see what people are saying. So real quick, when you're talking about social capital, people are writing people currency, human capital, mentoring, consulting. Clara's in there, even though she's not here, which is amazing. So Clara's saying social capital, your resources and connections. You can't put a dollar sign on this one. I can hear her saying it emphatically. So I want to share that. And when it gets to Black culture, there's a lot of great question. It's so important. Oh my God, yes. And then a lot of like, yes, as Michelle was speaking. So I'll start with a question that came up first in social capital. And it is this: how can BIPOC individuals leverage their social capital?
So that's Black, Indigenous, people of color.
Yes,
Leverage their social capital.
leverage their social capital.
Um, you want to answer that, Sean? You want me to answer it?
I mean, we can both answer it. Well, I think, like I just said, I think if I'm speaking plainly, one of the things I see, and even for myself, I think just being Black, it's always been hard because like I said, you grow up with a certain group of people, you have this certain network, and I personally never went outside of my community. It took me a long time to get outside of my community, be comfortable with other races, other ethnicities, and start to really expand my network. And so it wasn't until I was older, it wasn't until, I'm in my 30s, where I really started to think that, I needed to know some different people. I needed to, stop going to certain networking events and go to things that maybe made me uncomfortable, or go in places that made me uncomfortable before. Maybe, I was uncomfortable with, a lot of times it's your business, like what level of business you're at, or maybe you're uncomfortable speaking, or, just don't think you have, the same as other people, what they have. So for me, and I'm talking personally for me, so for me, it was all these little things that kept me from doing that. And it wasn't until I decided, and actually it was just me moving into a different neighborhood. That's what did it for me. I actually moved to Solana Beach, and if for those of you that don't know, Solana Beach is mostly a white neighborhood, and I am one of the few Black people in that neighborhood. And I think honestly, it just opened me up to a whole nother network of people, and it made me more comfortable with that network of people, and it's somewhat changed my perspective and the way the people that I know. So I think the point of all that, sorry to make this long diatribe, but I think the point of all that is find networks outside of what you already have, and don't feel uncomfortable, because you have to start somewhere. That would be the best advice that I could give you, is just be courageous and go out there and find new areas where you can fit in and put your business, and don't worry about being uncomfortable. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think also one of the first thing that came to mind for me is you need to map your assets. What is it that you need? What's the next thing you need to get to the next step in your business, or the next step on a project, or the next step on a goal? And then map your network. Who do you know? Who do you already know? LinkedIn is real good at, you can go on LinkedIn and search. I was going to say Google in LinkedIn, but you can search in LinkedIn. Google's become a verb. And you can see who's in your network that you might be connected to on the second or third level. Who can how can you work with who you already have, but you kind of got to know what you want, and then who do you have, and then who do you need to know. And then, like Sean said, be willing to get out of your comfort zone. And the way that I was extremely shy as a child. I know you guys can't believe that, but I was. I would literally hide behind my mother's skirt. I would not talk to people. I did not want to talk to people. And part of it had to do with the fact that by the time I was 13, I was 5'8". And I always felt so awkward. But what I learned to do was deflect attention away from me by asking questions of the other people. So I would get curious about other people. I just literally would be very curious and ask a lot of questions. And they say that the most interesting person in the room is the most interested person in the room. Just remember that. It's not about you, it's about that person. You never know. Like I said, I when I met that woman, her name was Terry, and she was a little unassuming woman, and she had this man, and he was paying her this amount of money, and I would have I would have never talked to that woman because I was into the nonprofit stuff back then. But I told my friend, I said, you know what? Excuse me, she's talking my language over here. I moved out of my comfort zone, and that's literally how that happened.
So I have another question for you guys. This one is kind of along the same lines, but a little bit different. And a lot of people have been asking these questions, so I know that you will speak to this. What advice do you have for up and coming entrepreneurs? How and where do we find mentorship?
These are some really, really good questions. And it's funny because until you hear the question, you don't think about a lot of these things very often. But where do you find mentorship? Of course, as we know, I think just to put this out there for me, there are a lot of good mentorship programs. I think, again, it's about researching. I think the best thing about, most of you probably don't know, I'm in online marketing myself. So everything's online. So, there's nothing for me personally that I feel like I can't find online. So research is always good, researching your networks. I think, unfortunately, one of the things that Sister Cities Project is trying to support is a mentorship for people of color. And I think that's very important, that certain people have a specific type of mentorship or someone that understands them. Now, that doesn't mean that every mentor should be, if you're a person of color, you should only have people of color as your mentors. I don't believe in that either. But I think sometimes having someone that does understand your specific journey is also so very important. But for me, it always comes back to the same thing, to be honest. I just said, putting yourself out there, getting outside your comfort zone. I'll tell a quick story. Sorry to take so long, and then I'll pass it to Michelle. But I ran a nonprofit in 2014. I had a young lady, she was 16. She wanted to be a scientist, but she didn't know any scientists. She was actually from Southeast San Diego, here in San Diego. She didn't know any scientists, didn't know anyone in her family or any of her friends or anybody that she could talk to. I told her to go on LinkedIn. She went on LinkedIn. She basically found every single person that had the title scientist, and she wrote a small letter to them and explained what she wanted to do. And so after a week, she actually got a response from someone who decided to take her under her wing, got her an internship at the Scripps. I forgot, in La Jolla. Somebody can put it in the chat. I forgot what it's called. There's a science institute in La Jolla. She got an internship there, and now she went on to college, and now she's on her way to becoming a scientist. So, you just got to get out of your comfort zone, and but all the resources out there. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, you find mentors in the most unusual places. And a mentor does not have to mean somebody that you formally sit down with every week and talk to. A mentor can be a person who is just above the path on your path. So they're just in front of you, and they've done enough so that you could actually learn from them, right? They just turn around and, okay, I can do that. Again, LinkedIn is a great place. Put the word out that you're looking for one, and then most importantly, know what it is you're looking to be mentored in.
Mhm.
What is it? Because you wouldn't want to be mentored by a by a salesperson for finance or something like that, right? You got to know what it is you want to be mentored in. And but I'm looking forward for Sister Cities project and the Diamond to come up with an answer to that question, because this is one of the biggest questions that we've gotten, that we keep getting. So we hear you.
So we've got time for one more question, and then we're going to move on. So this is one that actually came through the chat, and it is, what can we do if we have no one to reach out to? I don't know anyone, I'm in a new city. What are some tips?
Well, I'll go first with that one, because this is my favorite way of meeting people and gaining more, just I join associations and I volunteer. Literally, that's what I do.
Right.
I find people who are so for example, I have ADHD. I've been diagnosed with ADHD, put that way. I'm a neurodivergent thinker. That's what I like to say. Like, I just think different from everybody else. And so I started volunteering with the association, the ADHD Association for Adults. That was about a year and a half ago. I'm on the board now, and the president of the association is mentoring me. So you meet people. I met most of the people that I met. How I got, remember I told you about the entrepreneur that I met, how I got that first gig. I started volunteering with a women's group here in San Diego, about a women's venture capital group. I just started talking, I started showing up at their events.
Mhm.
So there's plenty, it's hard though, we've got COVID. So you're in the right place. You're in the right place. You found here and you're in the right place.
Yeah, and you said most of it, Michelle, but I would say, what it sounds like a lot of these questions are coming back to, we're on the, it's relationships, it's social capital, right? But it's creating those relationships and creating that social capital. And so, how do you do that? And I think there's no other way to do it. It's just like, it's somewhat like starting a business, right? You do it. And so there's no other way to do it but to do it. And again, there are organizations, there are networks out there where you can tap into through research, like we said earlier, whether it's LinkedIn. But I think if you're in a new city, you come in, you just have to start introducing yourself, start finding those places where these people are. I think that's really what it comes down to, is just doing it.
The chambers of commerce.
There you go.
That's what they're for, right? Supposedly.
Thank you.
I just leave you with this. Connectivity is the new currency. Okay?
Perfect.
Connectivity is the new currency. So figure out how to, get connected, create connections.
Beautiful way to put a period on this piece of the summit so far. And we're going to wrap up this questioning. And Michelle, I'm going to hand the baton back to you to continue on and speak a little bit about, looks like human capital and policy, the upcoming summit, and move on from there. So thank you so much, both of you, for covering this topic. And there will be more questions after the panelists speak at the end.
Sure.
Thanks, Leslie.
Sure.
So, series 3, we did this in a 4-part series. If you didn't get a chance to attend the first one, we had Dr. Dale Gines now from the Federal Reserve Board of Kansas, who's put together something called Ecosystems in Communities of Color, Entrepreneur Ecosystems in Communities of Color. So two of the areas of the ecosystem are human capital and policy. Human capital, those are the people that work in the entrepreneurial companies. And at some point, what we would like everybody, we would love for Black women entrepreneurs to actually hire somebody other than themselves, because that's literally, we have we are 90 some odd percent of us don't employ anybody but ourselves. So if we're going to create generational wealth, we're not going to get there by ourselves. We have to have people who are going to work with us. So that's that part. And policy, I hadn't thought about policy. There are policies that are friendly for entrepreneurs, so monetary policy. And one of the things that got me thinking about this is that Dell Gines, when he talked to us last time, he talked about there had been that Black women had created over 1 million businesses over a period of time in the last few years. And he went to his Federal Reserve Board people. You know, they're the ones who print our money, right? So he said, what kind of policies do we need to put in place for businesses that are growing this fast? Like, how can we support that? What are the policies we need to have? So that's the ecosystem needs to have all of those things. So that's where we're going to be working. We're going to be talking about those two topics the next time, and we'll have some. We're planning on finding some pretty good experts for you, so that we can unpack and dig into that, really dig into it. So I thank you guys for all your questions. I really appreciate them. We really appreciate them. Right now, we're going to get some sponsor spotlights. And before we do that, though, I would love to give a shout out to all of our panelists. We got Gwen Pierce. We got she's with Chocolate Voices. We've got Shala Waines from the Soul Swap Meet. We've got Devia. They're out there with their all that beautiful cultural swag they got there. And then we got Joshlyn Turner. She's with the Right Juice, and she's got two other brands, the Right Expression and the Right Fit. So you guys are in for a treat, but these are all business women, and Christmas is coming. So we got the 19th is the next Soul Swap meet, so maybe y'all can get out there and support them. All right, so we got a couple of words from our sponsors.
We're next.
Claire.
I told her.
everybody in the breakout rooms, and we'll do that for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and we will do, we'll talk to Michelle again and actually introduce our panelists more thoroughly.
Yeah, think about what you need next. That's what I would say. Think about what you need next, or think about who's in there with you. Some questions, find out who they are. and keep talking. Did everybody enjoy that? So, what we're gonna do now is I met some really interesting people in my group. Wow, you guys are up to some really amazing things, and I knew this, and we all knew this, which is why we wanted to host this series, because we knew that there were people out there doing some incredible things that we knew nothing about. So I commend you to the young lady that I was talking to right before we got pulled back, the one that's doing the genealogy stuff and the textbooks. That please put your information in the chat so we can have access to that, because I would love to learn more about that part, what you're doing up to, what you're up to there. So what I'd like to do right now is start to introduce our panelists. If all of our panelists want to make sure they're on camera. So I'm gonna, part of building a more equitable society is spotlighting our untold stories. Our summit series are making visible stories of incredible local San Diego Black women, entrepreneurs, whose businesses are models of creative thinking, new innovations on traditional ideas, and real stories about what it takes to create your own business out of an idea, a passion, or a long-held dream with close to zero capital. And I know that we know how to do that. So I'm going to tell you about them. I'm going to give a little bit of information about them, and then they're going to introduce them. They're going to tell us about themselves. They're going to give us their background and everything. So Soul Swap Meet, Shala, they launched hundreds of new businesses by creating a space for Black entrepreneurs. And if you haven't had a chance to get there, it's a sight to see. There's over 100 booths with nothing but, Black and other entrepreneurs of color. And it's so exciting. It's like a really great vibe. There's a DJ and things like that. The Chocolate Voice, that's Shala. That's what I was just talking about right there. She's the founder and CEO of Creative Vibes and the Soul Swap Meet. And she's got a story for y'all, a real one. Then we've got the Chocolate Voice. We've got Gwen Pierce. And she gave a voice to small communities of Black people throughout the nation. And they decided to turn the table on traditional media and deliver good news for change. So we want to get Gwen's up there too. So Gwen, she's the founder of the Chocolate Voice, and they are nationwide. And she's a journalist. They own a real media company. Next we have Joshlyn Turner and The Right Juice. And it's the story of mobility and wellness and access to nourishment in areas that are food deserts and the resources don't exist. It's super inspiring and good too. Okay, so I had a taste of one of her smoothies. It was amazing. And then it turns out that San Diego's small. I knew her mother. I know who her mother is. And then we got Via, Art and Style, and they're infusing communities. And now the online world with art as a lifestyle and a platform for appreciating cultures. So I want you to hear these stories and be inspired and be a part of telling stories as part of our mission to build economic equity for Black women entrepreneurs in San Diego. So starting with, I guess we'll go back around and we'll have them introduce themselves, and then we'll start with the questions. So we got Shala and Shala Waines. And you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Shala?
Absolutely. First off, I would like to say thank you very much for having me on this panelist. I'm very humbled and honored to be here. My name is Shala Waines Segura. I'm recently married in October. So I am the owner of Creative Vibes LLC, also the creator of the Soul Swap Meet. Basically, my businesses were created so that I could have people who look like me and people who do not believe in the goals that are achievable, that they can get out of corporate America. You can have a business and a passion of your own, and you can get out there and you can do it, you can make it happen, and you can employ your own people and create generational wealth, and just be happy every day waking up. I remember working for corporate America and just dreading when the alarm went off. Yeah. Just because you're undervalued, you're hindered from opportunity for growth, opportunity for financial achievement. And I just wanted to get out of there and let my children know that you don't have to get up every day and just dread the way that you have to make your means for money to live, because unfortunately, money makes the world go round and we need it in order to live, whether it's the roof over our head or the food that goes in our stomachs. And so with that being said, I'm very passionate about what I do, and I'm just happy to be here. And I'm very blessed and humbled that people believe in my vision that I had for the Soul Swap Meet and my LLC, which is Creative Vibes.
Awesome. That is so awesome. Next, we're gonna go ahead, Gwen. Gwen, tell us about you and the Chocolate Voice.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you all for having me. It's quite an honor to be able to share my vision, the Chocolate Voice, with all of you. I appreciate it. My name is Gwen Pierce, and I'm with thechocolatevoice.com. We are a online digital magazine, and as Michelle mentioned in intro, we try to focus strictly on positive stories as it relates to our community, the Black community. I'm originally from Tucson, Arizona, which has a very small population of Black people, similar to San Diego. May not be necessarily be small, but we're spread out all over the place. So my motivation behind starting the Chocolate Voice was to share positive stories of people of color that are not necessarily, we don't necessarily hear every day in the news. So, I came to San Diego at 17 years old. So I've lived here almost my entire adult life. I went to San Diego State University. I started out as a journalism major and then ended up working in aerospace. And then when I semi-retired, I kind of came full circle to do what I really love, which was out there sharing positive stories of people of color. So thank you again so much for having me. And I look forward to sharing more.
We're so glad you're here. Joshlyn, my friend, how are you?
Hello, thank you for having me. Just so excited and so honored to be on this panel. Anytime anyone asks me to share my story or be amongst a group of other Black women, I just feel honored to do that. I'm born and raised in Southeast San Diego. I am a graduate of Hampton University. I don't have a, painted, entrepreneur story, to be honest. I go by the motto that, it's cliche, wherever you water your grass is where it's greener. So I always felt like whatever I put myself in, whatever I did, I knew that I was going to be successful. And I felt that way since I was younger. So, coming from a nonprofit world, my background is working with youth in the juvenile justice system. So I'm very embedded in the work that I do in the community. And I didn't quit my job or anything, but, unfortunately, God pushed me out. And what I thought was a burden ended up being the biggest blessing of my life. And so I started my first company, The Right Fit, while working nonprofit, doing the work. I enjoyed the work every day. Of course, there was some microaggressions and some things that we go through as Black women, in corporate and in that arena. But I was just blessed to use my creativity and push forward. And, 7 years later from the start of as an entrepreneur, I now have 3 companies, and I'm just very, very grateful. I'm grateful, and I know that, whatever I put my mind to, I can do it, and I believe that. So whether I'm working in an office, whether I'm volunteering in the community, or whether I'm running my own businesses, if I do the work and I stay prayed up, I'll be successful.
Right.
Ooh, amen to that. And now, Via. Dewanna and Via. You guys have been friends for how long? You guys have been friends since high school?
Long time. Since high grade. Yeah.
Wow.
Telling our age, huh?
Oh,
Yeah. Hi, I'm Dewanna. I'm Via. And together we're Devia.
Art and style. Friends since high school.
Yes. So I'm originally from San Diego, Lincoln High School, and graduated from San Diego State. I have a background in theater arts and a minor in business. Well, see, our story is interesting, but we go way back to high school, and I've admired Sis's accessories and earrings and all those things. And we said, one day we're gonna open a business. But with that being said, we were, raising families, and I myself was running a small franchise business for over 20 years in the Westville malls. But being,
Yeah. So 4 years ago, we decided to jump, really inspired by Steve Harvey when he put out the video to go ahead and jump into your dreams and your passions. You know, I've been doing art since, oh gosh,
Baby.
yeah, forever. Yeah, Gwen heard me say it, forever, ever. So, and so we decided to jump. Our focus here is art, fashion, and interiors, and we hand design 80% or more of everything here.
Of our wares.
And we let God lead us here. I mean, so many times people come to the studio, gallery, and boutique, and you know, it is just a blessing, the responses that we get from them. We've heard that it's better than coffee, you know, we've heard that it's sanctuary. And when we hear those types of things, that lets us know that we're on the God track.
Right. The intended purpose.
It's the intended purpose.
Yes.
It's more than just a pretty picture. It's we're multicultural on purpose because it represents our families authentically, and all are welcomed here in Chula Vista. I mean, we've been received really, really well as far as along that social capital aspect of things. So many things that have come to us where we have allowed ourselves to receive them and be able to give back information. You know,
that's super important.
Good services.
You said the key there. It is being able to receive. We have a hard time receiving sometimes. Sometimes we do. So I'm going to dive into these questions, and I'm going to ask each one of you these questions. So, you know, you can be thinking while I'm asking somebody else, maybe some things you want to talk about. And we're going to get into just why you started and who was, you know, maybe people who opened up doors for you. So I'm going to start with Shala, and I'm just going to go how it's sitting on my screen, which is Shala, Gwen, Joshlyn, and then Via and Dewanna. So Shala, why did you start your business?
Well, I started, so Creative Vibes is my LLC. You know, I do many things under there because I've had a passion for creating a supportive foundation and then also community engagement. So that's what my umbrella does. But the Soul Swap Meet, that was to provide a platform for entrepreneurs that look like me to be able to showcase their goods, their talents, their foods, their products, whatever they're passionate about to the community. And the reason I know that those passions were inside of people because I had a passion inside of me. When I was working for different corporations and they wanted me to be in a different department that was not my passion. You know, I knew that there was something inside of me that I could bring to their corporation. So I was devalued, you name it, we all have been there. So I just wanted people to see that it was a goal. There was something that was achievable outside of working for people that tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, how long you can do it. And so I went out in Southeast San Diego, Mr. Barry Pollard, he is actually over the Urban Collaborative Project, which is off of 50th Street in Southeast San Diego, across from the Blue Car Wash, Brother Wright's Car Wash. We started in 2018, the Soul Swap Me. We had about 20 to 25 entrepreneurs out there that believed in what I was doing. You know, at that point, I was a nobody. You know, no one knew who I was. I was born and raised in San Diego. My grandmother lived in Valencia Park, so I guess Skyline is my area, if you will. So no one knew who I was, but I just knew that, you know, people needed a way out. So starting in 2018, up into this day, I won't go in between because it matters, but it doesn't matter at the moment because I know we're on a time frame. But we are now able to service 104 entrepreneurs at the Soul Swap Meet. And I will say gladly and proudly that 2 of our vendors are on this call, which I'm just kind of blown away. Like, you know, we I could see them, so I'm all like this. But we all come together. It's a beautiful thing. It's outdoors. It's in Kearney Mesa. We stepped outside of the box. Stepping outside of the box will send you things that you may not have been able to, you know, encounter if you would not have, if you will. So we got 104 vendors. The Soul Swap Meet it's once a month. Normally, sometimes we have it twice a month, but it's at the Encore Event Center, 8253 Ronson Road. Our next one, the end of the year, it's going to be spectacular, is on the 19th. It's from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. And I am just blown away. I'm so ecstatic. I'm so excited. Our entrepreneurs are like family to us. You know, we started back in September of this year during COVID, the pandemic, and it was no better time than to do it now. You know, people are at home, they're laid off. You know, now is the time to zone in on your passion. What are you really passionate about? This is the time to get it out there, perfect it, and this can be your lifestyle for the rest of your life. And I can guarantee you, our entrepreneurs out there, this is what they dream about. This is something they dreamed about. And it's something I dreamed about, because I can't even put it into words sometimes. I'm just floored. I am so humbled. I'm overwhelmed. I'm excited. And I just look forward to all the endeavors that we all are going to encounter together, a part of being of the So Swap Me platform.
Yep, our collective generational wealth building, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
yes, ma'am. I don't know when we can go into details, but we got figures, but I'll wait till you guys ask those questions.
We got more questions. We got some questions for you.
Okay.
Why did you start? Why did you start Chocolate Voice?
Why did I start? Well, first of all, I wanted to pass something down to my children.
When? I was talking.
Oh, when? I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay.
Now my turn.
Okay. Yeah, you got energy, girl. I love your energy.
Yes,
oh my gosh. Just like mine. She's a Pisces, just like me. So there you go. Gwen, you got to unmute yourself. You got to unmute yourself, Gwen. I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
My apologies.
Okay.
Well, why I started, for starters, entrepreneurship is in my DNA. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My father is a barber, and he owned a strip mall and had different businesses. So that's what I know growing up. But although I did take a little bit different turn, corporate route for about 17 years, but once I retired, I started the Chocolate Voice because of my daughter, and that's the honest story. When she went away to college, she's also my partner in this. When she went away to college, she seemed to think that I needed a hobby, something to do. Okay, so she's giving me something to do. So basically, at the time, I was working for college area BID, and a part of my job was to go down Cajon Boulevard and interview the new businesses that were coming on El Cajon Boulevard. And I really kind of like sparked my original feelings wanting to be in media. And so from there, kind of created a newsletter. And my staff was my mom and my daughter. So basically I wanted to start smaller than San Diego. So I said, well, let me reach back to my hometown and then find some chocolate stories over there. And then we had a little newsletter, and we just created it. And then once I really got into it, I'm thinking to myself, this is a lot of money and a lot of time. I'm going to have to figure out how to monetize this. And so from there, I started, taking subscriptions. And then when I got my very first subscription, my mom was my bookkeeper. And when we got our very first subscription, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, somebody subscribe to this? But anyways, from there, I had to keep going, and and then the stories were beautiful, and and I've always been a magazine junkie. I mean, like, even from a teenager, my room was one of those rooms that, I got Right On magazine, Ebony magazine, Jet, and then my room was plastered with all these pictures of Michael Jackson, all that stuff,
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah, so I guess I can say I know that there's definitely a need. We can use as much media outlets as possible to showcase us, people of color, doing wonderful things. So, from there, that's where I went, and the chocolatevoice.com was born out of that. And I'll have to share this quickly, hopefully. Once I started to go digital, one of my first larger ads was from a local casino here in town, and they wanted me. They negotiated that I would interview one of their talent for doing the ad. You know what I mean? And it just so happened to be a old school band that I was familiar with, Tower of Power, and it was a Mexican band. They're Mexican, but they sing soul music. Right. He was probably the most chocolate story and one of my very favorites ever. And so from there, I just kind of just kept going. And there you have it. I've got, for 13 years, I've been doing the chocolatevoice.com.
Hey, I love it. That's a great story. It's a great story. So, Joshlyn,
Yes.
why did you start the Right Juice? I know you had the other brands, but why did you start the Right Juice?
So the Right Juice truck was just first I want to say, when starting a business, it's important to be solution focused. A lot of people get into business for various reasons, but a true entrepreneur who becomes successful solves a problem. And so what I saw is that there was a lack of resources and healthy options for my community. Not only that, there was no food truck mobility options in San Diego. For us, a lot of it, roach coaches and taco trucks, those are big, right? And in other cities, food trucks are like the phenomena of, food services and what it is. And of course, in San Diego, we have restrictions, right? So I was able to take that research, the market research I did, what's out there, what's not out there. And somebody who's grew up on smoothies, my parents have always been, very health conscious for the most part growing up. So, I grew up always having smoothies. Smoothies was just a thing, is something I always liked. And so I thought there's no smoothie truck, like that doesn't exist. I knew one that was Black owned by a male down south. And I researched this a few years before I even launched the truck. And so, did research, talked to people, got discouraged at one point. I knew it was a lot of work ahead of me, but I knew that I was setting a blueprint, not only as a Black entrepreneur, but a Black woman to own and operate a smoothie truck. Doesn't exist. And so I knew that, again, solving a problem. And so I wanted to be able to have my community have access to healthy organic options, and being able to be served by people that look like them. So most people go to the bigger chain, smoothie places and juice places that, add a lot of sugar, don't know what's in it, but we didn't have anything small, for us. And so that's why I started the truck, as a connection to just my lifestyle brand and health and wellness of the right fit, the right brand itself. All falls under, my creativity and entrepreneurship spirit, the culture. The great thing about my signature drinks, they're actually named after shirts that were popular for my t-shirt company. So I'm always on brand. That's very, very important. It's always on brand. So whenever you see any of my companies, the representation of the right fit and what it stands for, and it's a reflection of me. And so that's why I started the truck.
That's amazing. What's the blue drink?
So that's very popular. So the most popular smoothie is the Ride Your Own Way. That's a blue smoothie.
Okay.
That has the blue spirulina. It's the same as our lemonade. So I think the color is what, gets people, and then the names. Right. And then once they realize, oh, this is pretty cool, the name's pretty dope. All right, I'm drinking something healthy. Well, that's cool.
It's delicious.
So, yeah, so that's what's in it. So the spirulina is what turns the drink blue, and it's really, really good for your immune system. It's rich in protein, and a lot of people don't even care about that stuff. They're like, oh, it's just blue and pretty, and then when I tell them, they're like, oh, that makes it even better. So that's the popular drink. Yeah, that was a popular one at the first Soul Swap Me Too, which is why I gotta make double.
My daughter got one.
Time.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, thank you for that. All right. So Via and Dewanna, why did you start this kind of business?
Well, for us ladies, it's like a dream deferred. Okay. Yeah. Some families or some women think that, okay, we've raised our family, so now let's go home and sit in a chair. And we're like, no, we just have so much life. There's so much to give. And I love our fashion and I love our art. We're like, we need to do something. Let's get out here and create and do what we love. And so that's how we started our company. Via gives me a call in the middle of the night and say, sis, I found us a location. And I said, what? Okay, we got a location? And she goes, you ready? I said, I'm going to get ready. Sure, yeah. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do this thing. Yeah.
So it's like a dream deferred a little bit, and you're never too seasoned to do your passion. And it's been a passion. There's nothing else I would have wanted to do. Yeah, I've had other jobs in my life, but this is not even a job. It is so true. When you do what you love, you're not working. our husbands have to call us and say, so when you coming in? And, you know, so we're happy and blessed to be here. And there was a void also for this type of gallery boutique studio, that because in most cases, when you go to a shop that's owned by a different ethnicity, it's primarily that one singular thing encompasses the whole studio. For us, it is a mix-up of different cultures because it does represent our families. And when our kids, nieces and nephews and everyone comes here, I would love for them to see that they are represented here as well, you know. So yeah, it's a passion project.
Thank you. That is, you know, I'm just really so full. My heart is really full right now. So the next question is kind of I want you to think about this. So we're going to start with Shala again. So Shala, who was a person that opened doors for you when you started your business? I know you mentioned Barry Pollard, but who else? Who opened the door for you so that you could get out there in Kearney Mesa? Who opened that door? Who was a door opener for you? Unmute yourself.
I'm so sorry. I had a delivery. I'm sorry. I had to leave the screen. Barry Pollard is the only one that can come to mind at the moment, because when I was looking for a venue in Southeast San Diego, there were none. And so for him to open the door up for me, it wasn't the Soul Swap Meet. It was initially the Trap and Paint that I did with Joe Irie Segura at the corners, you know. That was in 2018 in September. It was a very large event outdoors. He was the instructor. We had 74 painters and over 100 people came in attendance. Whoa. And so I think because we were able to pull that off, I think Mr. Pollard was like, okay, well, when you need some space, I'll be more than happy to oblige. But other than that, I didn't really have any hindrance or hardships of getting the Soul Swap Meet out there after I opened it up in Southeast. But I can give, you know, my thanks to the entrepreneurs who believed in me, but there was not anyone else in particular that helped me with the Soul Swap Meet and opening it up in 2018.
Okay, thanks for that. Gwen, who's a person you can think of that opened some doors for you? You got, unmute yourself.
Yes, let me unmute myself here. Sorry about that again. You know, I can't say that there was any one person that opened the door for me, because as I mentioned before, DNA, entrepreneurship is kind of in my DNA. I can just say that, you know, my family was there to just like, you know, just help me keep it moving. But in terms of opening up the doors, I mean, I just hit the ground running basically without any, you know, it's just internal. It was just internal, simple as that. I can't name a person that actually opened that door for me. It just kind of like automatic, you know, do this, keep it moving. So
got it. So Joshlyn, was there somebody who opened the door for you?
I think it really boils down to your village and networking. I'm not a person that's afraid to ask. Well, I am sometimes, pride and being a Taurus, I'm stubborn. But what I found is that when I share my ideas with friends, they made the connections. I'm really big on connecting the dots with other people. And so if I had an idea, I like, hey, you know, X, Y, and Z. And they're like, oh, you should talk to such and such. And so, you know, really, I started my first company, you know, while I was working full time. And I always express this to entrepreneurs because every person is different. Every story is different. But I am not one that, you know, I'll believe in your dreams, but I won't tell you to quit your job. And I'll say that because a lot of what I was able to do was because I worked full time. And what helped me even more so is that I was actually enjoying my job. And one thing I can say is with the work that I was doing in the community and with the juvenile justice system, I had access to food systems, you know, because one of the organizations that I worked with had a local farm. And so I started to learn more about growing, learning more about sustainability, learning about what we lacked in the food desert in Southeast and San Diego. And so, you know, that's where I feel like the big thing on me is like transferable skills, right? I was already able to network and to maneuver my way, and also know what was lacking in my community. And so that's what I would say the biggest thing was, is in me. You know, sometimes we're afraid to say that it was me that helped me, and it was me that helped me, and the resources that I had, and making sacrifices to pay for the things that I needed to start, you know, my business. And I'll talk a little bit more about the social capital part for the truck, and where I got assistance in that area when that comes around. But yeah.
Sounds like Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg made a
Yep,
song.
exactly.
I
He said,
want
I
to
like to
thank
thank
for myself, right? I want to thank me. So yeah, it sounds like y'all really the thing that opened the door was your drive and determination. So Via and Dewanna, what was, you know, you said you found a space. Was there, you know, was there somebody that stands out for you that opened up a door for you?
You know, we came in really low key. No one really knew what we were up to for a long time. We were plotting, our husbands, they really didn't have any idea that we were really planning, really seriously considering moving into our own space, you know, and doing it completely legitimate. But once they realized that we were signing a lease and that we were getting the studio, 100%, you know, they were behind us, especially our sons. Our sons were like, because we have boys.
Our biggest cheerleaders.
Biggest cheerleaders. They're like, Mom, go get it. You know, go do you. I'm gonna need you to paint. I'm gonna need you to go and represent. And even to this day, they are somewhat our a compass for us to make sure that, you know,
right track.
Yeah, we still got a little swag on it. So so we appreciate them and our families. Once they found out that we were doing it, they are our biggest cheerleaders. But really, we did it with, you know, some glue. Yeah.
Sweat and tears.
Hustling, sweat, tears, all of the above, and stick-to-itiveness, you know, not giving up. So, and here we are, 5 years. Yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. So this is a kind of a different question. It's a culture question. So how has our culture shaped what you thought your path was supposed to be, and what path did you actually take, and why? So Shala, I'll repeat it one more time. How has your culture shaped what you thought your path was supposed to be, and what path did you actually take, and why? And I'll give an example of myself. I was the first person in my family, in my generation, to not go to college. It was a scandal across the United States because everybody's on the East Coast, and they thought my mother was crazy for letting me get married and not go to school. So the path I took was not the path that everybody thought I was going to take. So that's what I mean when I say that.
Gotcha. So the path that I was supposed to be on would have been an easy path because my mother set my life up for that. But when she passed away, unfortunately and unexpectedly, when I was 17 years old, then life actually happened. And then I was set up to kind of delegate my path from there on. So basically moving to Virginia, the East Coast, there was no opportunity for growth, you know, over there. You know, I did work at United Healthcare, which is, you know, everybody knows what United Healthcare is. I was moving up in the company, but I just felt that there was something else in the world for me. You know, I was born and raised in San Diego.
What mom had you set up for?
So she worked for Amtrak, and she always told us that we didn't know what it meant when she said it, but now as an adult, I know. She said, you're going to live better when I'm dead than when I'm alive, because the money that I'm leaving you, you'll never see that in a lifetime when I'm here. So because she was proactive, and I'm a life insurance agent as well. I am licensed in the state of Virginia and California. So I do help families prepare for the unexpected as well, along with providing that supportive foundation. But because she was very proactive and she made sure that life would continue on for her children, I'm the second oldest out of 4. So when we moved to Virginia, that was a life change from us from moving from Hemet, California. I don't know if anyone knows where that is and the type of environment you would be around. Yeah, a lot of people didn't look like me from when I didn't make the cheerleading team amongst the rest of the people that look like me. We started our own dance team. We were like, we don't need this cheerleading team. We'll do our own thing. You know, then I moved to Virginia and just life happened over there. So the path that I was supposed to go on was not the path that I'm on right now, but because I had determination and will and I was guaranteed to be successful. I moved back to San Diego with $600 in my pocket with my daughter, left my son with his father because he was in sports. And here I am today. So the path, and that's when I'm going to write a book. Adria, I don't know if she's on the call, but I've spoken with her and she's like, you know what? I think you should. Because this life, the way it happened to me was not planned out. It was almost like a nightmare. And I am actually living a dream now.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's so awesome. Wow.
Beautiful.
Wow. I understand because I know your story. So I think that this is, we're all going to get to know each other real well. So I understand, but that's sometimes how it happens, right? You zig and you zag and you still make it. So Gwen, what, how is your culture shaped what you thought your path was supposed to be? And what path did you actually take? And why did you take that path?
Well, as I said, my parents were entrepreneurs. I grew up in an entrepreneurial background, and my father, his barbershop, he also sold records. So I was surrounded by music, and then also, dashikis and African clothing. So as long as I can remember, living in Tucson, Arizona, which is as far from chocolate as you can get for the most part, I have always been surrounded by my culture, my Black culture, made very well of my culture. In fact, some of the staff that worked for my father were college students at the University of Arizona that were the Black Panther Party. So, yeah. And so I guess in answer to your question, I probably should have been doing this media thing, chocolate voice media, Black news media earlier in my career. So, I took the corporate route at first. And so, I took the white collar job first. So, it's kind of a hard question for me because it's always been in my culture to, be who I am, be proud of who I am, be proud of my roots,
Well, we believe in that job too, right? Like having that security, but that's turned out not to quite be so secure anymore.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. That's very good point.
How it was. It was secure, but not anymore. So
right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thanks for that, Joshlyn. How has culture or our Black culture shaped what you thought your path was supposed to be? And then what path did you take and why? I know you said you had a degree from Hampton, so that's pretty.
Yeah, so since I was younger, my dad's side of the family is from Louisiana, and when we were younger, he always take us to our family reunions and down to visit my grandfather and family. And I remember when I was about 7 or 8 years old, maybe, he took me to the campus of Grambling State University. And it so happened the campus was closed, but the band was practicing. And I remember him putting me up on his shoulder, and I watched the band and the dancers, and I said, oh, like I knew I wanted to go to an HBCU. And so in high school, I went to SCPA. I played sports at Lincoln, and my cheer coach was a graduate of Norfolk State. And that's when we used to have the Gold Coast Classic. We used to come here frequently in San Diego, one of the best events that, our community could see, what the other side of the world looked like and be exposed to. And so I knew that I wanted to go to a HBCU. While a lot of my friends, were going to UC schools, and that was a big thing when you're in California, I knew I wanted to go to HBCU. And so my degree actually is in theater arts with the emphasis in production. And so when I did that, I graduated, and I always had this knack for writing and for creativity. And so I knew that, that was going to be my path. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher, right? But when I went to college, I knew that I wanted to get into production. I was into operations, into systems, into making sure that things work and that things, were right. And so I ended up taking an internship at a production company, a film company in Atlanta. And I worked out there for a couple of years, lived out there, but I missed my family. I had left and was gone for about, 7 years or so. And I just wanted to come back home. And Atlanta was great. It was the prime time, I'm young, out of college, working at a theater company, doing stage gigs here and there. And so, I knew it. And I was also, doing writing and always had an interest to write. And so when I moved back to Cali, I knew I had to have a plan. And so my parents had paid for college, and they were like, after this, you're really on your own. We did, our part. And so I was actually accepted into the New York Film Academy, the Los Angeles campus. But once I got accepted and went through the procedures, it cost a lot of money. And with them being a private institute, it was like I couldn't really do, financial aid. And so I was like, maybe that isn't, the path I was going to go on. I knew that I needed a plan to come back out here for myself personally. And so I started doing, stage gigs here and there, just independent contracting stuff. And I always had this passion to work with youth and to be in the counseling and mental health field. And so I started working for a nonprofit, that provided, I would say homes for group homes. I started doing that. So once I started doing that, I realized like I still had this passion and this connection with social services. And so, throughout those 7 years, I worked in nonprofits, worked in the community. My background is, federal funded grants that help with job training and job labor for youth involved in the juvenile justice system. It was something that I knew, right? So I took my transferable skills of organization and systems and operation and administration and took that into this world of nonprofit. And if you would have asked me 3 or 4 years ago after I got fired from my job, I would have thought I would have still been working and being a director somewhere at one of these organizations. And let me tell you how good God is because when I got fired from my job, so many doors opened for me to assist grassroots organizations. And I was able to take everything I learned from these bigger nonprofits that I were with and be able to help build the capacity for these organizations to sustain and to make them money. And in return, I made money just by doing what I liked and what I loved. And that was just helping people and using my skills, to set me forward. And so I used those same skills and, started my company. And, initially when I started the t-shirt company, it wasn't really like a company for Blacks or t-shirts, whatever. It was just a universal message, combining creative expression and fashion, something that I just always loved. And what really changed the game is in 2016, I dropped one of my most popular collections, which now has become a brand, Black Girls Got the Juice. And I just dropped that, collection just as paying homage to Black women during Black History Month. And lo and behold, I trademarked it, it started, going everywhere to different states and countries, and it just became so popular. And it was just really just a piece of a collection. And so I think that that's what shifted, the culture of, people wanting to support and be proud of and be Black. Because I feel like back when I started the company, my first company, it wasn't a lot of like, support Black businesses. That wasn't like a trend as it has been the last few years. And so I feel like when my company shifted and highlighted this piece or this collection, it was at a time where our community was rallying around Black businesses and Black statements and, all of those things. And so I think that that's what put me on that path. And then, like I said, after getting fired, I just kind of pushed out and God really pushed me out. And it wasn't, I had the idea of like, oh, I'll never go work for anywhere again or this and that, because you just never know how God will sit you down and humble you. But, every day I woke up and I prayed, and every day I woke up and knew that I had something to offer. And so it just really pushed me and propelled me to, to go forward. And, here I am in the pandemic, running 3 businesses and being able to see a shift and grow. And so I'm really thankful. And that's kind of how I got on, this path. And I still do the community work, due to COVID, I'm not able to go into juvenile hall, but, I was running weekly groups inside juvenile hall for the girls that are there long-term. So that's still a passion of mine. And like I said, wherever I water my grass, I know it's going to grow. And so there's no limit to what, I want to do or my path.
Wow. That's amazing. That's so inspiring. Is anybody else inspired?
Yes,
right? I mean, wow, that is just amazing. So, wow, Via and Dewanna, how has your culture shaped what you thought your path was supposed to be? And then what path did you actually take? And why do you think you took that path?
The path that I took, I'm a mama's girl. And so mama said, get your education. And I did that. Mm-hmm. And so I graduating from San Diego State, and then also working another job for 20 years. I retired from that job. Still wasn't quite satisfied. I like again, I'm a fashion girl. I like doing what I wanted to do. But anyway, satisfying mama and doing what she wanted me to do, which, you know, again, education and also working a job to pay the bills. Mm-hmm. And so doing that. And then now it's my time. And I said, well, you know what? I want to work. The corporate world's cool. That's fine. And now let me do my own thing. So, hey, I invested into a franchise business and I did that for 20 years and that was fine too. Until I get my phone call from sis over here and really found my passion. So, you know, I did a little bit of both.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Roundabout way, huh? Kind of took the long route home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Well, for me, when I was pursuing art as my dream back in the day a little bit, you know, it was considered not a traditional way to go for work. You know, artists back then would look at us like we were lazy and really wanted you to pursue your jobs. You know, so I did go to school for interior design. I did go to school for graphic design and did jobs. But there was always something in the pit of my stomach that kept telling me, God kept telling me, you already have your skill set. I gave you a gift, and I knew that I had to start using my gift as my means of life. And I'm so glad that I did. And even from that's when people really start taking you serious about your gift and your craft, is once you decide yourself, regardless of what someone else thinks or what someone else says. But when you make the decision for yourself that this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it, then you get the respect just by doing, you know, what you want to do and what your dreams and your passions are. Never let anyone stop you or hinder you or tell you who you are and how to do what you believe that you're here to do on this earth, for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you know, this is such a familiar story.
Yeah. I stayed
It's such a familiar story. So I'm going to switch up a little bit and ask a really the elephant in the middle of the room question, which is, how has Black culture helped or hurt your business? Or I mean, helped and hurt, you know, either way, both of them. Just give me some examples maybe, or some thoughts. Shayla, you're on.
Hello. So first of all, the Soul Swap Meet, again, the platform was geared for Black entrepreneurs. So that's how it's positively impacted, because without the entrepreneurs, there is no Soul Swap Meet. You know, I don't sell anything. My passion is to provide the platform, you know, the coordinating. But as far as hurting, there's been a little hurt, if you will. Maybe I've added to it, I don't know. But I think with the problem with Black entrepreneurs or Black businesses or the Black culture or the Black community altogether is that they feel that only we can make a change and only we are able to make growth. And that's not the case, because if you focus on just Black dollars, then how far are we going to get if there are no Black businesses out there? I mean, I'm just, you know, trying to be honest. And so with that being said, you have to bring in other people outside of your own culture, outside of the norm, for them to be able to appreciate what you're doing, value what you're doing, and be able to enhance what you're doing in a way that maybe we couldn't do on our own. And so I tried to do that, and it didn't come off right with the Soul Swap Meet. I won't go into details about it, but basically, yeah, we definitely can hurt one another by just being biased and not thinking outside of the box. But with that being said, we always go on and the marathon continues.
And you got like about 1,500 people coming up through there, right? Like
we had 1,824, but I'm not counting. Who is?
I count. Okay. All right. So Gwen, it's your question. How has Black culture helped and hurt your business, if it has? You got your. Don't forget, you got to unmute yourself.
Boy, I can't believe I keep forgetting to unmute myself. Well, how it's helped is mainly because it fuels my passion. It's who I am. So since it fuels my passion, that's what I'm interested in, and it comes off to other people who want to do business with me or who want to contribute. This is what I love to do because this is who I am. So that's how it's helped, because that is who I am, and it fuels my passion. How it's hurt, I would have to say it hasn't really hurt, but if I had to say something, sometimes I'll hold back, because just because the Chocolate Voice celebrates Black culture doesn't necessarily mean that it's exclusive to Black culture. So some people have said, made comments like, I'll say people from the dominant culture may have said, that's prejudice. Why are you calling it the Chocolate Voice? You know, can white people get in the Chocolate Voice? But you know, it's just like, haven't you been to homes where people are Black and they've lived overseas in Japan for many years, and then their whole decor is Japan? That's what they enjoy. That's all it is. It's just, we enjoy Black culture. We enjoy hearing about culture. Our culture is bomb, you know. I mean, we're so creative, like I think Joshlyn mentioned, and it's amazing. And I'm happy to be a part of. I'm happy I'm born into this culture. So that's all I have to say about that.
Hey, nothing better. So Joshlyn, how has Black culture helped or hurt your business?
Well, I think first and foremost, I'm a Black woman with the juice unapologetically. So any and everything that I do, I push forward my Blackness. You know, I think as society and culture shifts, you know, sometimes we shift with it, or we ride our own wave. And I think that I haven't gotten to where I am now today without Black culture. I wouldn't even have survived, to be honest, during the pandemic with my truck, because specifically with the Right Juice truck, you know, with food trucks, you know, a lot of our money comes from events and, you know, and doing things. And one thing I can say is that, you know, having a unique truck sometimes has their pros and cons to events. But when all that took a hold, and you know, in the beginning of the year, also I was on the city college campus with my truck, which was amazing and huge to be able to service the youth, not the youth, excuse me, the students and the staff there. And so when everything shut down, you know, my community showed up for me. You know, I went from being open a couple days, you know, a week, to sometimes it was just Fridays on Euclid and Federal, which for me, when I first started the truck, I felt like I had in some ways abandoned, you know, that location and that community, because I got so busy. Before I even started to open the truck, I was booked half a year. You know, I was doing office parties and all types of events. I was able to do Pride last year. I mean, everything just took off fast. You know, anytime that my community, you know, wanted me to be there, you know, First Saturdays was a big event that I started to do, you know, when they had, the family Day, Juneteenth celebration. I did that, which has been huge in our community. And so, you know, I always try to push that forward. And so what I can say is that Black people, my culture, you know, hate it or love it, good or bad, ugly, we all know what comes with us, you know, has really helped me. And I wouldn't be able to even survive, you know, like I said, during the pandemic, if it wasn't for my customers and people that's supporting me. And like I said, I think because there's been such a hype now with Black businesses and supporting and being, you know, being Black and proud and all those things now are so much out there as a trend. I feel like it was just so easy for people to fall in line and fall in love with my brands. And so as I can say now to this day, you know, of course you have critics, you have people that will talk, but I have more praise, or I hear more praise than I hear hate. And if there is hate, then it doesn't, you know, really matter, because I have so many people in my corner. I really, really, truly, honestly feel like my community shows up for me. And so for me in turn, I feel like I owe that to them, to always be myself unapologetically and always be proud. So I put my Blackness in every bit of each one of my brands, you know, even starting my greeting card line, you know, as you can see my coloring book back here. Black Girls Got the Juice coloring book that I'm launching Friday, and I'll have at the Soul Swap Meet, is the first book that I've published. So I'm proud. And, you know, this was just a greeting card company. I knew I wanted to continue on, but again, I'm always going to show up with my Blackness. And because the juice is just taken off and is so popular on its own, it's just a representation, you know, of me and all my brands. So I say that to say that I have not been harmed by Black culture. I've been helped tremendously, and I'm extremely grateful. And I'm ready to roll with the good and bad days that have come with that. But you know, for the most part, I'm just really, really grateful for my community, and I'm really grateful for Southeast San Diego, who continue to show up for me, who come up there on Fridays at Euclid and Federal. Anytime I drop something new, they're just always.
Where you at on Euclid and Federal?
Euclid and Federal, right? The same parking lot.
Which corner? Which one? Which place?
Right across from what is that? Walgreens, CVS?
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. So I just pull up there. So I'm just, like I said, I owe so much I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And even the first swap meet I did, I was so grateful. I was so impressed to see so many Black people and Black faces. And because we don't have a lot of events that have been going on, especially during the pandemic, it was just great to see that. And it's great to see that during this time, people are rallying around small Black businesses. And for some of us who've been in business for a while, you know, you just take back a step in awe, and you're just grateful to see it, you know, flourish. And so I'm just grateful for that.
That's amazing. And I'm going to ask Via and Dewanna, and then I'm going to ask a question that's much more really, you guys go ahead and tell me what you what has it helped and or hurt. But then the next question I want you to be thinking about is what is it that you need? What is the next what might be a next step of what you guys need? All right. So but go ahead and tell us how you've been hurt or helped.
Well, for us, we're just so phenomenal as a people, period, that we haven't really experienced any hindrances. I think the main thing that I could speak to is that we're so brilliant that we have to not be afraid to share information, and just to make sure that we're willing to help the next queen, the next king, whoever it is, coming up with knowledge and information, because that's where the power is, you know. And that we are not limited to a small box. We can go to Claremont and do a business. We can be in Chula Vista. We can be in La Jolla, because we take the culture with us. So just because our business isn't in the Black community, in the hood, quote unquote, does not take away from the Black businesses that we run. So we just to not put any limits on ourselves. Go somewhere else, so that opens up the marketplace for young people to know that they can still go north of the 805 anywhere they want and be great. Yeah. So yeah. Yes. There you go.
Got it. So then, you know what? Let's circle back. Let's start with you. Let's go. We're gonna wrap this up real quick. So just tell me what one thing would propel you forward now from where you are. What one thing? What would it be?
What would it be? A good grant. a good grant, not a loan, because we're looking for work combination, you know, just access to where to get grants and fundings that you don't have these extensive interest rates. We don't want a loan. We're looking for grants and how to pair up with different companies that produce our original products. Okay. And our original designs, really, right now.
Okay, so you're looking for capital.
Looking for capital, yes.
Capital. Okay. So do you have an amount? Have you thought about it? You don't have to. You may. What I want you to do is start to think about that amount, because somebody may come along and say, "Hey, I got some. How much you need?"
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Via and Dewanna, real quick, I have a question. Do you know what, if someone was to give you the cap or the grant that you need, what would you do with that money?
We would go into production with our own line of clothing, wares, and reproducing, from selling original fine art to really nice prints and lithographs.
Very cool. Nice.
And we would also hire a few more young people to work with us. Right now, we do have two.
We're it. Tag.
Yeah, we're it, but we do have other people who help us on the IT side.
Yeah.
And helping us do some of our creative wares.
Awesome.
So we would hire young people.
Good.
Mhm.
And mentor them. So
There you go.
Nice.
There you go. Joshlyn, what's one thing? What one thing do you need to propel you forward now? If you could have it.
Well, I think that there's the next few years, I definitely want to expand the truck, but taking my time in the market and seeing what that looks like. So I think for me on an overall basis, because I've done a lot or mostly all of my funding has come from my pocket. I've also had assistance with Axion. I always like to bring up Axion because they're in the community, they're in the Jacobs Center, and they are a nonprofit that helps small businesses with capital. Of course, some people wouldn't normally have access to that capital because of whatever reason, credit or this or that, or can't go into banks. And so they were very, very instrumental in my business a few years ago, and even helping me with my truck. And so I always like to let people know about it because, there might be an option for you. For those people that may be looking for grants or, other opportunities, I would also say that they are a company in our community that helps people of color and those that would normally have access to funding to start there. But for me to go to the level in which I know that I want to go and I believe in my heart that I can go, I would probably say private investors and buyers, retail buyers, because I don't want to always run my businesses online. My goal has always been to have my products in store. So my coloring books, my greeting cards, my t-shirts, and then eventually being able to yes, and then to eventually branch out and have a location for my smoothie bar. So that's really where I think my need comes next as I look forward in the future. Axion is Accion. Oh, someone asked that.
I'll just for those of you who don't know, I actually do I do access to capital for the Diamond Bid. So I know there are different capital programs now that are being restructured that are the state of California just rolled out one. So there's that's something that we can take into account and maybe do some webinars on too. So all right, Gwen, what is it that you need? What one thing? What would be the one thing you would that would propel you forward? You guys are all.
Well, I would have to say, like everyone else, more capital, preferably a grant. And what I would do with that funding is job creation. There's plenty of jobs that can be created for creatives in the media industry. There's editing, there's photography, there's the social media aspect of it. So there's so many jobs that's available that can be created if I had more funds. I mean, I've had a couple of great interns that have went on and graduated from college, and I paid them out of my pocket. But if I had more capital or more funding, then that would free me up to kind of do some more networking and let people know more about my business, because right now I'm just behind the scenes uploading content on my website, interviewing. And so that would definitely be a big help for me.
That would be okay. So yes. Shala, and then we're going to go to the audience because the audience has questions for y'all.
Well, what would help me and be able to move us forward would be, so right now we're, I'm sorry, I don't know where my screen went, I'm sorry. So right now we're at a cap at the venue we're at on Curry Event Center in Curry Mesa of 104 vendors, entrepreneurs. And my thing is I never want to turn an entrepreneur down for showcasing their goods, services, or whatever they want to the community, because you never know. It's all it takes is sometimes who you know. So I would like to get a specific venue. I would like to have one in, Curry Mesa and one in Southeast San Diego. I would like us to have them on certain days of, every day doesn't fit every entrepreneur. So I want to have some on Sundays, So I just need a space that we can call Soul Swap Meets Ground. And I don't have to really limit. My goal and my dream was always the Qualcomm Stadium, but I think that's kind of out the window now.
I thought because, about that too.
Yeah, and so that's kind of out the way now, but my dream and my vision is like, okay, going forward, maybe we can utilize a college football field. They got lots of parking. We bring in thousands of attendees to come and, shop with our entrepreneurs. So I'm just looking for a place that we can call home for the Soul Swap Meet, because I don't want to tell people you got to get on a waiting list. I want to say, yes, come on now.
Right. Okay. So Leslie, you got questions?
Do we ever? And we get 10 whole minutes for them, so I'm going to jump right in. I guess first I want to tell you that our chat is just abundantly overflowing with inspiration and support. And I think we should print these all out and send them to you because there's just so much support. It's amazing. I'm going to start. There are 2 questions that are to 2 specific panelists, and then there are questions to everybody. And in the interest of time, I'm going to direct the ones to the 2 specific panelists. And then the ones that are to everybody, I'm going to direct to the other 2 panelists. So I think that'll give us time for everybody to answer a question, and that'll probably take up the time. So the first one, Shala, I will just hand over to you, and I'm going to read it. So excuse me for not looking straight at you, but here's the question from the audience. Have you encountered racism as an entrepreneur, and have you grown from that situation?
So personally, I have not, but I think there's a misconception about the soul swap meet. I have created this platform for Black entrepreneurs. The reason for that is because there are spaces and people can just look all over San Diego that we're not a part of. And so with that being said, I wanted to create this platform specifically for us, but not only for us. And so it's called the soul swap meet. It's not called the Black swap meet. And so some people are getting that misconstrued with only Black people are able to be a part of it. And that's not the case. And so I don't have enough time to go into it in detail. So I'll just say, yes, I have experienced the good and the bad side of my marketing. I have experienced the good and bad side of what I'm doing in overall. And what I have learned, and I'll say this to inspire someone else, is ultimately do you. Do what you feel is best for your business and for the people that you are trying to support. Because people that don't even have a background in business, have an EIN number, or have a business license or anything of that nature, have no ground to stand on in telling someone who's running a business that's lucrative how to run their business, how to market, who to have on their flyer, things of that nature. So unfortunately, it comes a point in time where you become human sometimes. Yes, I'm a professional, but certain things I don't tolerate, if you will. And so racism is definitely one I just don't tolerate in my household, around me at all. So yes, I've had experience at a certain level, but it's nothing that would stop me or hinder us from going forward. So all I'm gonna say is we're doing bigger and better things and everyone's involved with it. If anyone has ever been at the Soul Swap Meet, if you look at the entrepreneurs, they're not all Black. I mean, that's just a fact. The Encore Event Center is not ran by anyone that's Black, so it's like, let's come on, let's give a little. And let's just overall just support one another. So racism is in all areas. Don't let it affect you. Just keep going, do you. If what you're doing is positive, people support you, just continue to do it.
Thank you so much. And it's just great to have the kind of the real authentic conversation about all of this. So I know the audience appreciates getting the questions asked and getting the answers. The next one is for Joshlyn. You answered this in chat, but I thought it was, for those people who aren't reading the chat, I thought it was just really great. And I'll just repeat the question. What challenges did you have in your journey? What was the biggest one? And have you ever felt overwhelmed running 3 businesses? Those are kind of combined into one question, and you did such a great job of answering it. I wondered if you would speak to it here.
I would say the biggest challenge, there's 2 sides to it. So creatively, because the right fit is my creative expression, and when I'm very intentional when I drop collections. So I don't have a streetwear brand where I just put my logo on clothes. Because it really forces me to write and to be intentional, because people are wearing my thoughts, things that they relate to on their body, their apparel, right? Their fashion. And so sometimes I get creatively stuck because it's like, well, I might have this saying or whatever. Oh, let me just throw that on a shirt. And so, every collection I put out, and it's intentional. I plan for the shoots. I plan for the release. I plan for the looks. I style, the models. I'm going into the whole creative direction. And so sometimes I get creatively stuck, as a writer and not getting challenged on what to put out, next. And I think the biggest challenge with the businesses is probably my truck, because I'm basically running a business on wheels. And so I did have an amazing company that helped me, that built the truck, that customized it for me. But, I probably really learned about depression and getting down on myself with the truck, because there were times when I cried in my car because something didn't start, or because, this electricity went out, or, anybody that has a food truck can tell you that it can always be something. And I thought I had a manual when I first started, but I think now I really know, going into almost 2 years, how to run a food truck. And so a lot of just the challenges that you meet, one day your truck might not start. And one time it was, because my battery. And then I didn't even know I had 2 batteries, and didn't know that my batteries were not even located underneath my hood. So things of that nature is things that you learn. And that's been probably the most challenging with the food truck. And as far as the 3 businesses, I would say that it was all about timing. My greeting card company, The Right Expressions, that was my last company that I just started. But to be honest, that was the initial company that I wanted to start 10 years ago. So before I wanted to even do t-shirts and all that, I wanted to put my words on greeting cards and sell them. And so it just wasn't the timing. I decided to go with clothes instead. And then 10 years later, here I am saying, I promised my mom, like, I would put up my greeting cards, I would do it. And so the pandemic really sat me down, and it allowed me to take my time. It allowed me to go through a lot of emotional, a lot of mental, I started back working out, and I needed that self-care because I was so used to going. I was running 5 companies. 2 of them were mine, 3 of them were other people's companies in the last year and a half. So I was doing all that. And so the pandemic sat me down, and I had to reevaluate. I had to restructure, and that pushed me to get into my creativity. So I would say that I'm not as challenged or overwhelmed right now running the 3 companies, because I'm taking my time. And if I can tell that to anybody, is take your time. Social media will rush you and make you feel like you got to put something out all the time. You always got to be busy. No, there's some days where I'm not busy. There's some days I come home and I sit and watch Netflix. There's some days where I come home and I don't want to do nothing. There's some days where I'm home and I'm just on Facebook kikiing sometimes. There's some days where I'm not always grinding and working, and I'm not going to put that message out, because then I'd be lying, because that's not me every day. Some days I take time for myself, and you have to do that, because I'm a creative, and anybody that knows us creatives, we can go off the deep end, we can get depressed. It's a different type of world when your business is creatively driven. And so I would just say that is take your time, and I'm not going to allow 3 companies to overwhelm me at all. So again, take your time and be on your own time. Like I said, 10 years, I started the greeting card business. I wanted to do that 10 years ago. So it's all about timing and being okay with putting something down, and being okay with saying, like, maybe not today. All these other companies, they're getting thousands of followers and making all this money. And I tell entrepreneurs, it might not be your season. Your no, just not your season. So, just continue to do that, and not overwhelm yourself. And therapy helped me. We don't talk a lot about mental health, but I started doing therapy. Even though my background's in mental health, I started going and started to be really looking within myself. And so that helped me not be overwhelmed and control anxiety and depression.
Thank you so much. That was amazing and awesome. I'm sure everybody appreciates this, and it's just the kind of the authentic honesty about all of this is just incredible. I'm going to go ahead, and this is a question that went to everybody. So Gwen, I'm just going to direct it to you. What are some of the this comes up in these summits, and people really want to know what the challenges are, but they love the stories about how you overcame the challenge. So this is speaking to that. What are some of the challenges you all faced and overcame in terms of generating revenue and having a sustainable revenue model? Can you speak to that, Gwen?
Certainly. Well, first of all, what first comes to mind is know your worth. Okay. So when I first started my company, it was like a passion project and kind of like a hobby. And I found myself getting so busy. And when people would ask me, well, can you interview my client? Can you put this flyer on your website? Can you give me this ad? Can you do this and that? I was so busy creating content and having so much fun with it until one day I got tired and I said, wait a minute, you've got to treat your business or your website like real estate. If you want to put your ads or your content on my website, you got to pay, just like in real estate. You have to pay to live there. So basically it was kind of like a light bulb moment that came on for me, that I just needed to know my worth and be able to know that I had value. I had something of value because people are asking me. They're asking me, you know, to get on my website or to get into my magazine. So whenever somebody is asking you something, you know, there's a need for it, correct?
Yeah.
So basically how I overcame that is basically just realizing that I had to charge for my services. Simple as that. I learned my worth and learned that I had to create a media kit, you know, and create a media kit fairly quickly, and just my time was involved, how much hours I spent interviewing, talking on the phone, and just measure it out that way. So I hope that helps. Know your worth. Thank you.
It's so incredibly important. Thank you very much for that. So Dewanna and Via, I'm going to ask you a question that came through to everybody as well. And here it is. I'm going to read it because it's a little bit long. Why do you think it is so hard to learn about all this Black magic and Black power in businesses in San Diego? I have been looking for these types of businesses for so long as a customer and learning of entrepreneurship, and I thought they just didn't exist. Why is it hard for people to find out about this in San Diego? It seems to be with the question.
It's always been hard. San Diego has always been difficult to find where Black businesses are populated. Everybody, it seems like every 3 or 4 or 5 years, someone puts a Black business directory together, and everyone is supposed to find out where we are. I think it's just that the more that we support one another, I believe the more that other people, our customers, other customer bases will find out who we are and where we are. Technology now is a gift to where it can change that. You don't have to actually have a physical paper directory that you have to flip through to find out where we are. You can, well, I won't even say that my son told me what the acronym for Google was. You can Google all of that and find where we are. And so with that being said, I don't think there's an excuse anymore. The technology is there. The things that we really want and we really desire, if we seek it out enough, we will find it. You will find it. And we just can't be afraid to talk to Black people about Black people, where the businesses are, where do you go, share the information. It's out there, it's available, and technology has made it a lot easier to resource and find us. You gotta do the homework. Gotta do the work.
Does anybody else want to answer that question? Did anybody want to contribute to that at all? I can move on to another question, but I just want to ask if anybody wanted to add to that. Okay, we'll move on. Where are resources available to, what? Did you want to say something? Because you're muted. Please.
I mean, I don't have an exact answer for that, but please, like she said, they have to do the work. San Diego, we already know what the percentages of Black people. We don't have to throw that non-2-digit number out there. We know it's what, 7%, 6%. Okay. So with that being,
it's 4.
Oh wow, that's okay. With that being said, 3%. Okay. Well, whatever the percentage is, we know it's not even in the 2 digits. So with that being said, we know we're not going to be all in one place. So like she said, social media is the way. But then again, I'll just throw it out there. The Soul Swap Meet is where you can find the majority of these Black businesses at, because a lot of businesses don't have storefronts. And personally, why would you have to pay for a storefront if now you have a platform that you can go to every single month, or maybe even twice a month, and be able to make the same amount of money or even more for your business being outdoors and networking with your community? Because I'll cut this short, but at the Soul Swap Meet, entrepreneurs are not just selling their products or what they have. They are networking out there. There are things going on out there that probably wouldn't happen if they were not all in one place. So you got to get out and go where your Black people are if you want to find out where they are. I just think that's what it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So thank you so much to everybody here for answering those questions. We're going to move on because we have to. And this has been completely amazing. And for all the people in the audience who didn't get their questions answered, we have a LinkedIn group, and we are going to be hopefully asking people to answer some of those questions in there after this. And Sean, I'm going to pass this back to you to talk a little bit about our impact areas. You're on mute.
I tell you that unmute is a doozy. Just gotta say. Well, we're coming up on 2:30, so I will run. So the one thing to understand about Sister Cities Project, although you know, this is one of our signature events, we do have other things that we do. So what we have done is identified 3 areas that we really are trying to work in. So those areas are workforce development, where we at the present moment in workforce development, we are actually creating what we're calling an eco agency, basically a digital marketing agency for entrepreneurs like the ones we're talking to. It's in our human capital part of our ecosystem, so that we can actually provide services for the entrepreneurs that we work with, but not only the entrepreneurs that we work with, but also provide these types of services for businesses in the underserved communities that we work with. Because as we all know, these smaller businesses don't traditionally have the revenue for these types of services or marketing services. So that's the workforce development. Business growth, of course, is what we're doing right now. It's the San Diego Black Women Entrepreneur Summit series. And the biggest thing to know about that is not only are we creating a network of entrepreneurs that we can support, but we also are creating an ecosystem that supports them. I think Via and Dewanna actually talked about this, or a couple of other people had actually talked about this. It's not just, we are here today to focus and put a spotlight on Black businesses, but it's just not about the Black businesses. If we're going to grow the businesses, we need everyone to come to the table. So that's what Sister Cities Project is actually asking. We're trying to build an ecosystem of service providers. We want to increase their social capital. We want to increase bringing people to the table. So that's not just Black people, that's white people, that's everyone else that wants to come to the table and actually support them so that their businesses can thrive. And the last area is cultural exchanges. We've been doing for the last 4 or 5 months, where we actually, you know, the sister cities that we have, whether it be our 2 sister cities partnerships are Encinitas and City Heights, and also Southeast San Diego and Solana Beach. So we actually take residents from both areas and go down to the other area or the sister city where we support a Black-owned business. We sit in an area that's important to that community, and then we talk about, through a guided discussion, about how these 2 communities can help one another. And we've actually made some small impacts. We have had some conversations that have actually impacted those communities in a small way. So that's the areas of impact for Sister Cities Project. And I think that's one of the most important things to know beyond the conversation that we're having today. So we're gonna we're wrapping up here, getting to the closing remarks. What I would actually like to do is bring Christina back on just to talk again real quickly about our survey. And so Christina, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, can you guys see me? Good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, there I am. Okay, so we've talked, I'm not going to talk too much more about my background or anything, but on this call, we've talked about a lot. We've talked about the definition of social capital. We've had a short but sweet networking session with our peers. We had a panel discussion. We've taken questions and answers from the audience. There's an elaborate chat going on the right-hand side of your screen. We've heard from a lot of different entrepreneurs. So you're gonna receive a survey in your email, and it's actually in the chat, the last thing in the chat right now. So we ask that if you've listened, that you provide us with, forgive Ruby at the end here, but that you provide us with feedback and your reflections. And I just also want to, it is for us to be able to innovate and improve our programs, but it's also for you, because taking a few moments to reflect on what you've heard and what you've learned and what it means to you will help to solidify it in your own learning and hopefully take it forward into the future. And we look forward to seeing you at more Sister Cities events. Thanks, Sean.
Yes, and please, please, please fill it out. Just take the time to do it. And the reason I asked you that of you is because a lot of people mentioned, for example, Via and Dewanna mentioned, grants for their businesses. Well, this is the type of information that if we can gather the correct information, that we can start to help this process. So we need, but we have to have the data to present to, whether it be the policymakers or other people, grant funders, whatever it is. We need this information to present to them. So the more information and data we can collect, the better off everyone that we support is. So please fill it out. Just take the time to do it. I know everyone doesn't like to do surveys, but this is going to help at the end of the day. So at this point, one of the other things I would like to throw in here before I actually talk about our sponsors is just to make sure that, like I said before, so we are building an ecosystem. So everything that we're talking about here is, I think a lot of these things are educational, informational, but what we're really doing through this summit series is we're raising money. The reason we are raising money, going back to what I just said, whether it's the data, we're getting data, we're raising money so that we can build an ecosystem to support all the entrepreneurs that we're talking to today, future entrepreneurs, and just create programs and continue the programs like this one that we're doing, but so we can actually put some actual action items to the stuff that we're talking about. So if you're a part of a corporation out there, or even if you're just someone who thinks this is important, we have on our website, we actually have, you can go to the website and you can donate. I mean, whatever, $5 it helps. We also have a sponsorship package where you can actually sponsor another portion of this summit series. We'll do this again. We'll be continuing these. So if you'd like to sponsor one in the future, please let us know. We can send you the sponsor package and you can take a look at that and you can actually sponsor those as well. So again, I'd like to thank our sponsors. I'll just do this now and then I'll turn it over to Michelle. But again, we're thanking, 10,000 small, or Goldman Sachs 10,000 small businesses. Again, thank you, MCCSN. These are all people that are supporting us right now, making all this possible. The Diamond Bid Workforce Partnership, which will be working with us in our eco agency. Urban Alchemy, who's been so gracious and actually doing all the production for these summit series. So just want to thank them. And 8560, if you see any of our social media, our online presence is all done by 8560. So they've actually been a great partner as well. So I want to turn it over to Michelle to thank some other people, and so we can wrap this up here.
Hey, Michelle, can I make a quick comment? Is that okay, Michelle?
Oh, sure. Who's talking?
It's me. I turn my camera on. It's me, Pete.
Okay. Okay.
Not everybody may know how to save the chat, and I just wanted to mention that if you go to the chat and down to the bottom where you would make a comment, over on the far right there's a box. If you click on that box and drag down, you can hit save chat and it will save to your hard drive. There's a lot of information in that chat today. Thank you everybody for just filling it up. And it's also a great way to connect so that we have connectivity. So to the bottom, far right, small box, click on it, drag down to save chat, you got it. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Pete.
So, wow, I am so grateful to everybody here for hanging with us, and to our panelists. I mean, you guys are amazing. Y'all are so amazing. This makes me feel really great. I want to thank our planning team. Sophie is like the Swami, okay? She corrals all of us and keeps us in line, and that's no easy feat. We got Leslie, we've got Hannah, we've got Christina, Sean, Clara, just our Adria and Milan from Urban 360, and all the supporters. So Goldman Sachs again, we've got the multicultural Clara's company, we got Urban Alchemy 360, the Diamond Business Improvement District, which is who I'm part of that, San Diego Workforce Partnership in A560. And I just really want you guys remember and tell your friends, tell everybody, sign up for Series 3 on human capital and policy. Okay, do that. Make sure you do that. Follow us on social media and come on, hang out with us on LinkedIn. We're going to be there. We're going to be posting content. We're going to be answering the rest of these questions that y'all didn't get an opportunity to get answered. And we just want to create a presence on LinkedIn and let them know who we are and that we're here. So with all that, I'd like to say thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. We're so grateful. And you all go on and have, you create a great day. You want to turn on your cameras and we can get a screenshot? Maybe we can, everybody turns on their cameras. Everybody get your camera on. Come on, and put it in gallery view. Just
hang on, let me fix my hair real quick.
Yeah, fix your hair real quick.
Let's fix your hair. But yeah, we want to get a screenshot of the entire thing. So if everyone, I know everyone's not prepared, but if you could just turn on your cameras for just 1 second, let us get the screenshot and then we'll get out of here. So I guess let me do a countdown just so everyone. So I'm gonna go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everyone have their cameras on. We'll do that screenshot. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right.
Oh, nice.
Oh, how cute.
Beautiful faces, everybody.
Well, thank you again from everyone at Sister Cities Project. I would like to just thank you for coming and have a great day, as Michelle said.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for having us.
Good evening, this is Will Robeson.
This is Milan Rivera.
And we have Urban Alchemy 360.
Hey, yo, what up? It's your boy Michael K. Williams, and right now you're chilling with Urban Alchemy 360. Stay up.
systems of control and commerce that we had believed to be the status quo were somehow no longer relevant.
You are listening
What
to
if we were
Urban
faced with a
Alchemy
new medium,
360.
a new network, a new system that connected the people and places of the world in a new way?
Urban Alchemy 360.
What if that system is here?